Hello and welcome to the chart of the month from Silicon Valley Mobility in September 2019. Today I want to talk about disruption, a term that is probably heavily overused and actually quite often not used in the right way. So if we look at headlines from the automotive industry, disruption is all over. Sometimes people ask, when is disruption happening? Others say we have been disrupted already for quite some time. Others now say the disruptor, such as Uber, is not really a disruptor anymore and changing its dynamics. So what is disruption? Is disruption the same as genius? Is it the same as transformation? Is it the same as a radical innovation? Well, actually there's a definition, and the definition comes from Clayton Christensen that he uses in his book, The Innovator's Dilemma. And let's use an example to visualize that a little bit more here in our industry. And I don't want to use something that just happened in the last 10 or 20 years maybe. I want to use something that goes back even further, to the 1970s, when the Honda Civic, sorry Honda, was not a great product, when the Honda Civic was a very basic vehicle. It actually was so basic that the authorities in the United States wanted to recall it because it had a big rust problem. Over time, Honda has improved that vehicle year over year over year, so that today it even has some of these features that some people might call autonomous driving, like adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist and the likes. It has definitely become a very well equipped and very high spec vehicle. So over time, from the very basic, that vehicle has moved in its class certainly to the top performance. Now the challenge is with this sustaining trajectory that the innovator, which is what Christensen calls those who actually improve their vehicle performance time over time, year over year, that they maybe open up a gap at the bottom of the market. And this is where the disruptor comes in. Disruptor comes from the bottom. In this case, it might be Uber, where consumers say, I don't really care about adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, and all these things. I just want to get from A to B. And if that's at a reasonable, especially if it's a reasonably low cost, I go for that one. And there are other examples that we can ask, well, what is disruption here? We talked about ride-hailing. I want to talk about autonomous driving as well. We can also talk about China. The interesting thing is that Christensen says ride-hailing, so Uber or Lyft, is not a disruptor actually to the taxi industry, what some people say. Why is that? Well, because taxi was not getting better year over year in its service. It's just taxi. But, as we pointed out on the previous slide, that ride-hailing, Uber and Lyft, are a disruption to car ownership. Now, in what sense is autonomous driving a disruption? It actually is a disruption, again, to Uber and Lyft, because Uber and Lyft are pretty good services. They got us to our destination no matter what. Whatever the weather, whatever the traffic condition, and even if I'm running a little bit late and need to get to the airport, I can tell the driver, can you speed up a little bit? Now, an autonomous car cannot do this. It's not whatever the weather. It's maybe not working in very thick traffic conditions. I cannot really tell the autonomous car, can you go faster? I'm running late for my flight. But it might be relatively inexpensive because I don't need to pay the driver anymore. That's what we will call disruption. And for China, well, I guess many of you might agree with me. It's not necessarily known for the high-end performance in the market, not the best specs in terms of quality and the likes, for now. But this is where they are getting into the market, where the incumbents are getting better and better and better, and some say, you know what, I'm good enough with this vehicle from China. So why do we care about this definition, what it is? Why don't we just call it, you know what, it's disruptive, it's the same as very innovative, transformative, and radical. Well, because to understand this concept of the innovator's dilemma and disruptive innovation helps you actually to devise a strategy where you are going. Or better say, where you want to go and should go. Because there's some early signs what's happening in industry that you are overshooting the market. that your product is leaving some of the consumers behind that say, I don't need all of this, I just want to get there. And therefore ask yourself, what actually is it that we are providing to the market? You want to be vigilant and really ask yourself, what are the chances that we might get disrupted because we are moving away from the mainstream and into a territory where we might lose the consumer. With this, some food for thought, I guess. I'll be back in October. Thanks for watching today, and be vigilant. You might get disrupted.